Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Ghostrunner walkthrough and this is level 14, which has the very ominous name Rain in Hell. Sounds dark and threatening, doesn't it? But the beginning part of this level is actually quite low paced, but this particular part can be very challenging. A tip I want to convey to you going or taking on this puzzle or whatever you want to call it is before you pick up that shuriken upgrade, make sure you have your aim lined up for the first target, because the timer on when the shuriken upgrade will run out, if you get stuck on that, you will realize just how tight that timer really is. Because they give you no seconds to spare, basically, and if you don't keep like your pace going, moving constantly towards the fan, you will get your time will run out and you will have to redo it. And on my first playthrough, I've told you this by now. If you watched this walkthrough, you know that I really struggled the first time I played through this game. But I was stuck there for quite a while. I couldn't get the aiming right because I don't know what it was, because usually I am quite decent at aiming, because I've been playing console for almost all my life. Never been much of a PC player, so I'm used to like aiming with my thumbs. But that part, yeah, well, on my recording run at least, I did it on my second attempt. And this, coming into the tunnel right about now, is a new enemy type. Once again, I have my own name for them. I call them suiciders. But I actually, this morning, while I was going to work, waiting for the train, I looked up the enemy list for this game and realized that my names for... It's quite funny actually, those close encounter enemies, their official name actually is sluggers. You know, the ones that jump towards you and slam the ground? They're actually called sluggers even on the official enemies list. And also the snipers are called snipers, and that's about what I got right in my naming of the enemies. The samurais are called wardens. I think I mentioned that in a previous episode. The gunners are called keys, and the riflemen are triggers, I think. And these guys, the ones I call suiciders, are called ricks. As in shipwreck. And the thing to know about them is that they are basically crawling proximity mines. If they get close to you, they will explode and kill you in the process. So that's why I call them suiciders. So what you want to do, you saw me running across this gap, killing that enemy and immediately turning around. That is because a bunch of wrecks will come crawling into that corridor. So I think the easiest way to avoid them is to jump back across the gap. Similar thing here, I use Surge to take out that warden or samurai and trigger the wreck and just jump back across the gap. As soon as I see him make a right trying to get to me, we go back because he will explode before he has a chance to get over here. And that is the end of that room. And those wrecks can be annoying, because when they show up, usually spacing is quite tight and they are triggered in such a way to make it hard to get past them if you aren't quick and don't know the path you are supposed to go. But I like this section because you're being chased by a bunch of them. And on my first run, I actually got through this quite quickly, but it was so stressful because it felt like those wrecks, they they were crawling in from everywhere, man. It was like in Alien 2, and there are xenomorphs every fucking where. They're in the vents, they're in the ceiling, they are behind the door, and they don't know that there are... Thankfully, they don't know that there are only, what is like 15 bullets left in one of the turrets in the movie. I feel I have to rewatch. I actually talked to a coworker of mine. We discussed the Alien movies today, and I'm not a super huge fan of the franchise. I think Aliens, the one made by almost said Ridley Scott, but he did the original, James Cameron. The second installment in the series is my personal favorite. I like the fact that it's a bit more action-based, more fast-paced. The first one, also really good. Very claustrophobic horror movie. Great tension in that one. But yeah, I think I enjoy the pacing of the second one more. And speaking of movies and video games, and in this case video game movies, I saw Uncharted the movie a little while back, and I was a bit hesitant to see it because I know that video games rarely translate well into movies. By the way, here, jump over the railing. It will be a faster path back to where you're going, which I realized right there, because this is checkpoint, and just head in here and you will get to the exit. Now, where was I? Yes, the Uncharted movie. The worst part about that movie, I'm not gonna say that the movie was terrible, because it wasn't. It had its moments. There were some scenes that were kind of fun, but it had fundamental problems. One big problem with the movie was the casting. Tom Holland, I think most famous from the Spider-Man movies, plays Nathan Drake, and Mark Wahlberg plays Sully. And I feel the problem, I don't have much reference when it comes to Tom Holland. I've only seen him in the Spider-Man movies and the other, you know, like the expanded universe or whatever you want to call it in Marvel. And I think a problem was that I think he looks a bit too young. I don't know how old he is, but he looks a bit too young to play Nate, even though this is supposed to take place a little bit before the games, I guess. Sort of. They did mess about with the origin story a bit. But the main problem with his portrayal of Nate, by the way, here, same thing. Whenever you have picked up the last sphere, just jump over the railing. The checkpoint is by the exit. The software update is complete. Now, where was I? Yes. He plays Nate the same way he plays Peter Parker. This almost like a child being almost frightened by the fact that he accidentally killed someone. You know how he plays Peter Parker. Constant yapping and a bit childlike, like with really short attention span. And that's not how Nate is in the games. Nate is a sass-mouthy smartass. We can all agree on that. But it's not like he can't keep a train of thought for more than 2 seconds. So I think that was a bit sad. And also Mark Wahlberg in the role of Sully, because we know Sully is supposed to be, you know, a bit charming older gentleman. Still Victor Sullivan, but he has that gentlemanly charm, and you can say a lot of things about Mark Wahlberg, but charming is probably not one of the words I would choose. there they were quite packed with references to the game. Some scenes felt like they were almost grabbed straight out of the games. But it had a lot of problems with pacing of conversations. You know, when a conversation is supposed to flow quite quickly and a character says something and the response of another character comes just like a split second too late for it to make it feel natural. And yeah, overall it was definitely not the worst video game adaptation I've seen, Super Mario Brothers, and definitely not the best Silent Hill. By the way, here, when I latch onto that grappling point, a thing to know that you don't see in the video is I don't grapple from the ground of that box. I actually press the jump button just before I press grappling. I'm gonna swing around again and do it a second time. Here, jump and grab. It's more visible that time. Because when you swing around to grab the hourglass boost, if you don't jump, in my experience, usually you will get clocked by the rifleman. But if you jump, it changes your timing just a slight bit. We're talking 100th of a second, but it will make a difference. Believe me, because this fight took me a few tries, and I started messing about with it because I noticed a pattern right there. So make sure when you are gonna go off those boxes and grapple on, make sure you jump before you press the grappling button, and you will run a much smaller risk of running straight into a bullet going around. But going back to the Uncharted movie, there was also wasted opportunity. And I'm not gonna say more than that because I don't want to spoil anything. If you want to watch the movie, do so. But it could have been done better, but it could also have been done a lot worse. So I'll leave it at that. And now we have unlocked a new ability called Overlord, which you can use actually to unlock a trophy in the next level. So it is a somewhat useful special ability. I think it's the one I like the least out of all of them, because I feel it can be very hit and miss. You saw me use Overlord on that enemy right there that I call slashers. They're called shifters or some. The official name is like shifters, something like that. But that was a slugger. And sometimes when you use Overlord, when he is teleporting away, he can wreak havoc on the other enemies. But sometimes if you do it just a split second too early, he will just stand there like an idiot, not knowing what to do. And when the effect of Overlord wears off, which it does after just a few seconds, he will become hostile once again. So that is something you need to know if you're gonna use it. But that is the end of our reign in hell. So I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.